Welcome to Money Attitude.
My poor dad was the head of education for Hawaii, very smart man, PhD, went to Stanford, University of Chicago, Northwestern. And I went home and I asked Dad, I said, hey Dad, when are we gonna learn about money? And he says, never. I said, why not? So the government doesn't allow us to teach you that. I said, that's kind of interesting. So he said, if you want to get rich, go talk to your best friend's father. And he's an entrepreneur, and someday he'll be a very rich man. So that's how the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad starts. When I was 9 years old, I went to my rich dad's office, being an entrepreneur, and he started teaching his son and me about why the rich get richer. And that's my financial education began. See, ladies and gentlemen, those crashes, these bailouts are not accidents. And neither is it an accident there's no financial education in school. What my research found since 1983 is premeditated. Just as prior to the Civil War, it was illegal to educate a slave, we're not allowed to learn about money in school. And when I found that out, I said, okay, it's time for me to get on with my life and start teaching. So I became much like my rich dad and my poor dad. I started teaching. And it was not too far from here. My wife and I were homeless in San Diego, doing our best to teach, because we can't go inside the school system and nobody wants to listen. So anyway, that's how it started. And so I'm going to tell you what financial education really is. I'll start by telling you what it's not. Financial education isn't saving money and investing for the long term in the stock market and getting out of debt. It's exactly the opposite of that. So my financial education began with a game of Monopoly. We all know the formula: 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. So when I was 9 years old till I was about 20, Rich Dad and I and his son would play Monopoly. And that's how I learned to become a rich man. So the reason it works is this is the cone of learning. It was created by a man named Professor Edgar Dale. And in 1969, he came up with the cone of learning, and he said, this is how human beings are designed to learn. Notice the worst way to learn is by reading. And the second worst way is lecture, listening to boring teachers. That's why I was never at school. I know that's not really, I was there, but anyway. And then what you guys are doing here is you're looking at pictures, watching movies. That's why TED Talks works. But also, the second best way is called simulation. Simulation is where you get to make your mistakes. You get to make your mistakes after mistakes. You just make mistakes. See, human beings learn by making mistakes, except in school you make mistakes, you're considered stupid. In business, you make a mistake, you're fired. And you make a mistake in business, you're a failure. So a person's got to find a place to make mistakes. In scientists like Edison, it was a laboratory. So the reason I learned a lot was I made mistakes playing Monopoly. That's how I learned so much. And today I play Monopoly in real life. My wife and I have over 10,000 units, several hotels, golf courses, and oil wells. But that's the game. Once you learn it in your brain by playing games, simulations are the way you learn. So you practice, 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 practice. You make mistake after mistake after mistake. Like a golfer makes a mistake after mistake after mistake, then they turn pro. But the reason a lot of people are not rich, they think mistakes make you stupid. It's criminal. A baby cannot learn to walk unless they fall down. You can't learn to ride a bicycle until you fall off the bicycle. So that's where our school system's letting us down. So I love the military because they taught us to make mistake after mistake after mistake. Every day we flew, we practiced emergency procedures, and every day I killed my engine to fly my aircraft without an engine. And this here is me doing the real thing. I went down 3 times in Vietnam. And if not for practicing crashing, I wouldn't be here today. All 5 of my crew came home alive. So what I did was, after Bucky kind of chewed me out, he says, what can I do? I'm just a little guy. My wife and I created this board game called Cash Flow, but this is the key to the cash flow game here. This is called a financial statement. You add a financial statement to Monopoly, you have cash flow. This is financial literacy, how you understand numbers. So the beauty of the cash flow game is today we have thousands and thousands of cash flow clubs all over the world, people teaching people without having to go through school and getting into student loan debt. Now, you have to go to school to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, but you don't have to go to school to be rich. So all over the world today, I did what Dr. Fuller asked, I started empowering people to learn. So all over the world today, every day in different languages, people are teaching people the same lessons my rich dad taught me. And this here's the financial statement: income, expense, asset, liability. The beauty of this here is this. This is your report card when you leave school. My banker never asked me my grade point average or what school I went to. My banker wants to see my financial statement. And the reason most people can't get loans is they don't have a financial statement. They don't even know what it is when they leave school, even college graduates. The reason I can borrow hundreds of millions of dollars, I have a strong financial statement. It's financial literacy. And this here is very simply, it's income, expense, asset, liabilities. Poor dad always said, go to school and get a high-paying job. The problem with education, they teach you to be employees. Rich dad taught me to be an entrepreneur, acquiring assets. 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. Assets are very simple. You can plant an apple seed, and the apple seed grows into a tree. You harvest the apples. You sell the apples, you reinvest your profits, and you keep building an orchard. That's how you get rich. Or a friend of mine, when he was in high school, his grandma gave him some chickens. Those chickens laid eggs. He sold the eggs and reinvested it. And when he was 45, I think he sold his business. He was selling 10 million eggs a day to Costco and Walmart. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to build assets. You buy a couple of chickens. So the power of words, financial literacy begins with words, because words affect your brain. As my poor dad always said, I can't afford it. You know, in Sunday school I learned the word becomes flesh. Every time you say you can't afford it, you say, I'm poor, I'm a loser, I can't do something, I'm helpless. The government should take care of me. Disgusting. Rich dad taught me, how can I afford it? So when I had no money, my wife and I just kept saying, well, how can I afford it? And pretty soon your mind opens up, and that's when intelligence comes in. The most important words in money are basic. There's only 4: assets, liabilities, cash flow. That's it. That's where financial literacy starts. Assets, liabilities, and cash flow. You understand those 4 words basically, then you can build your vocabulary. Money has a language, but it's not taught in school. It's taught job security versus being an entrepreneur. You know, look for job security instead of go for financial freedom. It's somebody should take care of you instead I'm going to take care of other people. As an entrepreneur, I have thousands of employees. You know, that's my job, to create other jobs, give them a safe life. So number 1 is assets. Number 2 is liabilities, cash flow. These are liabilities. The reason the poor and middle class grow poor is because they think their house is an asset. If you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I said several things. Savers are losers, and your house is not an asset. This came out in 1997 and 2007. The subprime market crashed, and tens of millions of people throughout the world found out their house was a liability. Look, if you use the wrong word to describe the wrong issue, you will always be stupid and broke. So don't call a liability an asset. And that's why so many people are broke. They're using the wrong words. The words become flesh. Financial literacy. Change your words, change your life. Never say I can't afford it. Ask yourself, how can I afford it? Work to acquire assets, not liabilities. That, ladies and gentlemen, we have thousands of cash flow clubs around the world. People are teaching people. You don't have to go to school to learn to be rich. So the thing is Bucky Fuller challenged me. What can I do? I'm just a little guy. I stopped making wallets and I started making cents. My wife and I created this cash flow board game. It's played throughout the world today. Every day, tens of thousands of people are teaching themselves. That's how you change the world. But we change your words, you change your life. So the best news is words are free. It doesn't take millions of dollars to change the world. Just change your words.